You think adding more weights means more muscle, but it doesn't. In fact, if you are increasing weights too early, you will be stopping muscle growth. And this is the mistake that most people actually make in the gym. They think more weights, more progress. But what actually happens is worse form, less tension, and less muscle activation. And then over time, no growth. So the real question is now, when should I increase weight? The real question is, when is your body actually ready for more weight? Because if you get this wrong, you will be training for years and you will still stay the same. So let me explain exactly how this works. People come to me every single day in the gym and they ask the same question. When should I increase the weight? Still believing that more weights equals more muscle. Also, so many of you commenting on my videos are asking the same question, although I have explained it many times. When can I increase the weight? Because simply most people believe that progressive overload is only increasing weights, but this is not true. And this is that magic mantra that most people are actually stuck in. They think every week add weight, every session push heavier. And if that doesn't happen, they believe that they are not progressing. But that's not bodybuilding. This is simply ego lifting. Muscle doesn't grow from heavier weight alone. It grows from, number one, mechanical tension, number two, time under tension, and number three, controlled execution. So if increasing the weight reduces any of this, you have made the exercise simply less effective. And this is exactly what happens to most people. They go from controlled reps to faster reps, shorter range and momentum. And they think that they are progressing, but they are not. So I was committing the same mistake in first few years of my training. Obviously been obsessed with heavy duty training system promoted by Mike Mentzer. I believe that heavier weight means bigger muscle. Therefore, I was trying to push heavier every single session. I remember doing a bench press. I had to lift heavier every Saturday. And if I didn't, I would come back to the gym an hour later. I had to lift heavier, even half a kilo, 1 kg more. But it has to happen. I remember days when I was trying to do that few times per day. And in the days when I couldn't, especially that was Saturday for whatever reason, I was doing chest on Saturday. And if I couldn't do this, I was completely depressed. I was so low and I couldn't wait. Next training session in which I would completely obsessed go into that and try to lift heavier. And I would lift heavier, but in order to do that, I had to bounce the weight from my chest. And I was doing very low reps. Form wasn't good. And also my reps were shorter. They were never full range. I did the same thing by doing bent over rows, shoulder press, upright row, biceps curls. And I remember having constant injuries on my left shoulder because of chasing weights on shoulder press and upright rows, incline presses as well. Left shoulder for some reason was always a problem. And also had constant problem in my forearms and my wrists because of weights that I was moving in barbell curls, which was too heavy. But that changed. I came across much more experienced bodybuilders who really looked amazing, who competed actually, and they didn't do that. They were doing actually lighter weight than me, and I was a beginner. And I just couldn't believe it. But the approach was completely different. They were doing slower reps, more reps, full range of motion, no bouncing, perfect form. So the weight was lighter than I used, but the muscles were actually twice bigger than mine. So it took some time to finally break that mantra and start doing what everybody else was doing. And obviously that culminated when I went to Paris in '82 and met Serge Noubre, and actually not just him, but so many other couple of dozens of people in the gym who were all doing the same thing. High number of sets, high number of reps. Weight wasn't important at all. It was, again, lighter than I was doing in my beginning of my career, but the bodies were completely insane. So finally, I started changing that approach. So what actual progression looks like. Real progression looks very different. So you don't chase the weight, you earn it. So for example, let's say you do bench press and your target in the first set is 12 reps. So you are doing your 12 reps, you keep weight the same as I suggest. Then you do second set, you probably drop down to 10 reps. Then you may do another set, you do 9, then do another one. Now you are on 7. So if you drop under 8, this is your last set. So if you've done 4 sets starting from 12, good reps, good quality reps in good form, and finish with 7 reps in your 4th set, this is the end of this exercise. So you then move to another exercise. Now what happens? The day arrives that you pass 12 reps. So you're doing your set and you do 12, you still feel that you have more in you, so you do 13, 14 reps and you stop. I advise not to go to failure, not to go all out. So you stop, you have 1 in reserve, but now you've done 14 reps. In that session, you continue to do the same. Continue next set maybe 12, then the third set maybe 10, then 9, then 8, then maybe 6, whatever. So once you drop below 8, this is your last set. But the next session, because you have passed these 12 reps, which are your target, you increase the weight. And then you drop down to, hopefully to 12. Even if you drop down to 10, stay there, continue. You will go to 12 eventually in a few weeks, and then you will pass that 12 again. Once you pass your targeted number of reps, which for upper body muscle, I advise should be 12, you increase the weight for 5%, not more than that. So in order to increase the weight, you need to earn that weight. You need to be ready to perform 12 reps in good form with heavier weight. You can't just go by force. You can't just put more weights and then try to do whatever it takes to finish that set. This is not bodybuilding. This is, as I like to call it, laboring. And lots of people are doing that. Other day I was in the gym and somebody came to me and asked me to spot him, and the weights is ridiculous. He was lifting like 4 plates each side on incline chest machine, which is, I mean, I never go more than 2. And the guy was doing some, not even half reps, quarter of reps. And then he managed to do some 6, 7 reps in catastrophic form, but they were all like not even third, quarter of reps. And this was like, he was so happy. He looked at me, I said, well done. I just didn't want to go into conversation because if people don't ask me for advice, I stopped giving advice a long time ago. And this is very, very common, especially among younger people, because they are in that stage when the ego is still developing, and for them, lifting heavier means everything, regardless of how your body looks. Obviously, that leads to injuries. Injuries will postpone your progress. You will have to take off for a few weeks, sometimes few months of training, etc., etc. Is absolute nonsense. So beware of that, and only when you are ready, only when you earn new weight, you should increase that weight, but only for 5%. So if you're doing, let's say, 100 kgs bench press for 12 reps, you increase the weight for 5 kgs, and then you're trying again to follow the same pattern as I have explained. So if you increase your weight too early, too soon, what happens? First of all, the form breaks down. So you're not doing proper form anymore. You're not doing full eccentric and full concentric repetitions. So you're not stimulating muscle growth. You're losing tension, obviously, because not following full range of motion. Also, tension shifts away from the muscle. And because of your sudden moves and wrong form, it goes from the muscle to the joints and connective tissues. So this is the main reason why you most likely are going to end up with an injury. And also joints take over. So every time you bounce the weight, every time you cheat, every time you do everything but perfect form, you will stress more your joints than your muscles. And this is not bodybuilding. This is not how you build muscles. So this is absolute ticket for disaster. You're simply moving the weight and you're training your ego. And this leads, obviously, to slower progress, more fatigue, and higher injury risk. And most importantly, stalled muscle growth. And this is what you want to avoid. You want to continue, you want to build, you want to continue building on what you have achieved. You don't want to stop because of injury and then go back. What you have often heard from successful professional bodybuilders who have achieved some results in professional bodybuilding is that heavy weights build muscles. But what they have forgotten to explain to you is that muscle growth is driven by mechanical tension. Most of them were using perfect form, and also most of them pay attention to that mechanical tension. Lifting heavy doesn't mean just train your ego, ruin the form. It also means that you have to perform reps in perfect form and pay attention to that famous mechanical tension, because nothing will gonna happen if you stop doing that. Now, tension requires control, full range of motion, and proper tempo, as I explained so many times in my other videos. And when somebody who is experienced, who is big, who is lifting heavier than you, tells you that heavy weights build muscles, this is true, but then you should observe how they train and learn from them, because this is what I've done in my early stage of my bodybuilding career. I traveled around the world and I watched professional bodybuilders training. And also, they were using heavy weights, but also I remember them doing 15, 20 reps for, let's say, leg press or squats. I couldn't do that with that weight, obviously, but I started and eventually the weights will go up. So don't just be hypnotized by the weights that big guys lifting, the guys who are successful in bodybuilding. Also observe their other factors which are absolutely critical in the process of building big muscles. So again, is the form, is the number of reps, is time under tension, full range of motion, and everything together. When you put heavy weights together, then you have results, not just heavy weights. And this is the big trap, especially again for young bodybuilders who are trying to, lift as heavy as possible, dreaming that will make them bigger overnight. But that is not going to happen. And again, remember that heavier is not better, only better is better. Now let me remind you once again that I advise people to go 1 to 2 reps shy of failure. So you go to failure, but you don't go all out. You stop but before you reach that failure. So you should have at least 1 rep in reserve. Why I'm saying that? Because sets like this will be as beneficial as sets to failure, but will prevent you from injuries and also will prevent you from overtraining, which is common among people who train to failure every single set. Also, your reps should be in perfect form, and your concentric contraction should last anywhere from 1 to 2 seconds, while eccentric should last minimum 2 seconds. So this will be 3 to 4 seconds per repetition. So if you do 12 reps, that will go up to 48 seconds, which is a lot of time under tension. And if you do that properly, you will see how that works. You will feel that muscle like never before, because most of the time, most of the people, whatever they do, they never do more than 10 seconds per set. So next time you're in the gym, next time you perform whatever, biceps curls or bench press or squats, measure your time and see how long is your time under tension. And if it's not long enough, you will never stimulate all muscle fibers, regardless how hard and how much to failure you go. You also need that time under tension. Full contraction obviously is the essential factor, so you want to go for the full stretch and full contraction. This is going without saying, obviously. So only when you pass that targeted number of reps, this is when you increase the weight, but just for 5%. So the goal is simply to be patient and earn that new weight, not necessarily just to jump into new weights because heavier means bigger. Absolutely not true. Heavier only means bigger if it's earned and if it's just another factor among other factors which are critical for muscle growth. So let me summarize everything and give you 4 simple practical rules that you should remember. Rule number 1, never increase weight if form changes, period. Rule number 2, hit the top rep range first. Once you hit that rep range and you pass it, then you increase the weight. Rule number 3, control every rep, no momentum. Rule number 4, progression is slow, and that's normal. You can't rush it. You have to earn heavier weights. So don't just blindly jump into heavier weights. This is simply going to be wrong. I also want to say that most people don't fail because they don't train hard enough. They fail because they simply train incorrectly. And increasing weights too early is one of the biggest mistakes in bodybuilding. So if you fix this, your training becomes more effective, your recovery improves, and your muscle growth finally starts. So next time you go to the gym, don't ask, can I lift more? Ask, have I earned more? Guys, let me remind you once again that after 40 years in bodybuilding, competing 46 times, winning 17 titles, and coaching over 3,500 people, I have published for you 12 ebooks which are fully loaded with detailed explanation about everything that you always wanted to know about bodybuilding. Muscle growth, training splits, number of sets, number of reps, nutrition, lifestyle change, fat loss, you name it. So if you want to finally start improving, building muscle and burning body fat like never before, simply click on that link down in the comments and you can download my ebooks. Also, I have recently published Bodybuilding Blueprint course in which I personally demonstrate and explain the most effective exercises for all major muscle groups. That course is made of 8 videos, and if you want to learn how to train in perfect form, this is your best opportunity. Simply click that link again in the comments and you can download my Bodybuilding Blueprint course. So if you enjoy this video, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, share the video, send me your comments, and until the next video, I wish you all the best.